Recording is started.
Thank you very much, sir. I'd like to call to order the City of Sumner City Council study session. The date is the 12th of July and the time is 6:01. For the record, a note on June 30th, the Governor Inslee issued the Washington Ready Guidelines, effectively reopening the state of Washington, removing the COVID-19 restrictions. The City of Sumner looks forward to welcoming members of the public to its meetings in person. But until further notice, we'll continue to conduct its meeting 100% virtually using the Zoom platform. The public has been invited to attend the meeting using the Zoom access information that is on the council agenda and on our city website. With that, I would note that all council members are present with the exception of Councilmember Botetto, and look forward to her joining the meeting. You can see on regular business that we have 4 items, and none of them are easy items. They're all, pretty heavy items, but one of those agendas that is actually looking at it, they're all great news items. And so that's the great part. It's great. One thing to have a long agenda, but if it's all full of good stuff, that makes it a lot easier. So with that, we'll start into regular business. And the first one will be the Community Food Bank presentation, and calling you, Mr. Wilson, to introduce Stacy.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I do want to let everybody know that I did get an email from Councilmember Botetto. She is here. We're just sorting out who she is in the waiting room, and we'll get her upgraded in just a moment. As we look at that, I will go ahead and introduce Stacy Cernich. Excuse me, introduce Stacy Cernich. She's the Executive Director for the Community Food Bank. She's here to give an update about all the great things that are happening at the Sumner Food Bank and its merger with the Bonnie Lake Food Bank. So with that, I'll turn it over to Stacy.
Thank you so much. And thank you for visiting me a couple weeks ago. That was awesome. I really liked having you guys, and I've received such a warm welcome from Sumner. It's been, I've lived in Bonnie Lake for 25 years. So doing business in Sumner, it's just been so great to get to know everybody. Even Barb passed by the warehouse the other day when I was there and just stopped in. She was on a walk. So there's a hometown feel. I greatly appreciate that. I am from a small town in Washington. And so it's been really great coming to Sumner. So with that, I wanted to just kind of get you up to speed. 2020 is in the rear view, but it's noteworthy to go back and look at what was accomplished and what our vision is for both food banks now for the future. So I will switch over. You tell me when I can switch my screen.
You can right now.
I can? Okay, cool. Let me see. Cool. There we go. We all good?
Looking great.
Okay, cool. So I'll introduce myself for those of you that don't know me. My name is Stacy Cernich. I am the CEO of the Bonnie Lake and Sumner Food Banks. Our name is to be determined, but I should have something for you guys on that in the next couple weeks. I've been a resident of Bonnie Lake in this area for 20 plus years, married 20 years with one son at UW Med School and a daughter going into the 6th grade this year. My background is as a corporate buyer, a financial manager and inventory strategist for Nordstrom. And I love art, photography, gardening, all the things. Oops, hold on. There we go. Hot off the press, our new vision statement, a hunger-free community. That's what we're striving for. I hope to one day as a CEO put myself out of business. That would be the big dream. Also hot off the press, our mission to provide equitable access to nutritious food with dignity to those in the community facing food insecurity. This mission is, it kind of hits on all the things that we hold most true and things that we really had to take a good hard look at during the course of the pandemic. There were a lot of lessons here to be learned. most of which, when I look at that, there's the dignity component that we'll touch on. But also in times like what we've just experienced together, something like food insecurity, I think that's what we can all agree on, that we don't want this happening in our communities. And community problems like this require community-based solutions. And so I feel like more than anything, through the trials of the pandemic, the idea that the community was always there for us, for both of our food banks, holding us up, is sort of this bright spot, this thing that we will emerge with a stronger community and sense of community because of it. Our values, also new as a combined organization. And by the way, we did all the hard stuff first, and now it's the name we can't decide on. The values, the mission, all of it, that just was like butter, but the rest of it, oh man, the name we're still tripping on. I don't think any name feels good enough is the problem. Our values are dignity, equity and access, and community. We believe in cultivating a culture that ensures everyone is valued and respected. We'll talk more about that. Addressing inequitable systemic practices while removing barriers to food access. And creating a network of collaborative partners unified in building outcome-focused solutions through transparency and accountability. Dignity for all. I talk about dignity a lot. I think that my visitors a couple weeks ago experienced what that means and what that will continue to evolve into at the Sumner Food Bank and in all of the places where we do business. I like to talk about what it looks like and what it feels like and what it sounds like, because I think you think of it as one thing, but it is a complete experience, especially when you're dealing with something as heavy as food security. It's customer-centered practices, comfortable, beautiful spaces, less rules, more grace. That's Bill's favorite one. Delivery in unmarked vans, grocery bags versus boxes, multilingual communication, focus on convenience, diverse staff, no paperwork, no institutional processes, text broadcasting, customer service, staff, no appointments, no list, easy online sign up, and saying customer, not client. By the way, we are currently broadcasting in 5 different languages to Sumner citizens. Up in Bonnie Lake, we broadcasted in 3, so English, Spanish, and Russian. And we've added Vietnamese and Korean now that we are texting down in Sumner. Celebrating bounty. This is a philosophy, and you'll kind of hear our philosophy woven in here, but I chose, during the pandemic to really, there's a lot of things you can't control, right? There's a lot of things that we found in the pandemic you can't control, but we wanted to really focus on how we were caring for people, and then also celebrating bounty when it was available, to not have our facilities be about scarcity and flip the script. So in a sense, it became sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. We are more bountiful than ever, and in terms of our offering, and I hope that that just continues to be a theme for us. Our programs right now are the market, which a lot of people think of the market, that's our name. It's really the program, and the program is about creating an environment that looks more like a grocery store than a food bank. It's creating a program where we can assure that no child in our area will walk into a food bank and really know that their parents were at a food bank. So that's our core program, and that's what we stand for. But we also have our backpack program, Food for Kids, Basically Needed, which is all basic needs, diapers. Interestingly enough, the thing that people most gravitated towards when we opened our doors this month for in-person shopping were things like deodorant and toothpaste. Those are in high demand. SNAP benefits don't cover this. People are very, very in need of these basic human dignities. And then our Farm to Fork program, which right now is up at the farm with our relationship with agriculture up there and our kitchen gardens. And we are going to continue that down in Sumner with with a community garden, hopefully in that adjacent lot here very, very soon. I like to tell people a little bit, I won't read this, but just show you a little bit, and you guys had the study packet, but wanted you to know how our nonprofit works and how it's working together as we merge into one. Right now, the roles, there's a board of 25 members. There's me, my amazing, incredible staff, and we have committees as well. I explained to you the programs. Our service models right now, we are 95% in person. That is a huge shift. We were 80% delivery in Bonnie Lake for most of the 18 months, these last 18 months. So we shifted in June. So along with a merger, we changed our delivery model in both, our service models in both food banks. And we're now in-person shopping, have opened up space in the Sumner Food Bank. Our customers are absolutely loving it. I had one customer stand outside the other day and holler at me. I was standing on the front patio and said, "Stacy, this is an experience." So anyway, I find that a really good rave 5-star review. We also have curbside because not everybody is ready to come inside. If they have a vulnerable health condition, we want to respect that. And then we still do delivery to senior citizens right now. That it goes out every Monday. We have a mother and her son that do that for us, and just treat everybody like gold. Currently, food procurement, 80% of it comes from EFN. In Sumner, we also have an incredible amount of food, and I'm getting to know all about this from your industrial district. There are times where a truck will pull up and there will be 10 pallets of watermelon on it, which, by the way, both of our directors at both of our sites, we're now able to leverage food in such a way that we split it between both sites, and 10 pallets of watermelon that were just fresh and beautiful went out to our community within the last 5 days. It was incredible. So we're able to leverage our response to these fresh foods and get the freshest, most nutritious things out to the community, thanks to the staff. We work with Food Lifeline for grocery rescue, which is us, picking up at grocery stores like Costco and Fred Meyer. We do some food purchasing, especially if we have grants. We have grants for our kids backpack program because we can't always rely on donations for those types of foods. Our community's been incredible to us, and local farms donate overages. Technology, we'll talk more about this, but we have a cloud-based phone line. This is incredible because all of our cell phones will go off when we get a call into the food bank. We have an online registration process. Our text broadcasting, we can communicate to all 1,500 of our local households in 6 languages currently. And we use a lot of iPads. Those are a very universal way to connect with people with technology. I want to reflect a little bit on what happened during the pandemic up in Bonnie Lake and what I'm starting to see between both sites right now. So we did a lot of delivery, 13,200 miles worth of delivery. And we were serving, at Bonnie Lake, we went from serving about 100 to 150 households per week to, at its peak, actually over 1,200 households in December. That's a 700% increase. It was an absolutely phenomenal thing to experience. Since then, we have seen a reduction, and it's been very gradual. It started in January, February, March. We got to about a 60% reduction, and now we're bouncing back up again. It's also leveled out between both sites. So where we were delivering to a lot of Sumner customers before, now all of those Sumner customers are coming to us. We're also able to offer our customers an experience where they can just go to whichever food bank is closest, whichever market is the most convenient for them. So because of that, we're seeing a lot of growth at both sites. And in fact, 100 new family members signed up just in the last couple of weeks. The COVID financial impact, I just kind of want to show you because I feel like this 2019 versus 2020, you're going to be seeing a similar picture as we go into 2021. I have a snapshot of what that looks like. We emerged from the pandemic not the same type of food banking business that we were in prior. I am not entirely positive we'll ever go back to how we were before. I think the pandemic opened a lot of people's eyes to what it looks like to receive resource and how it can help their family stay in their homes, keep their cars, help with them pay for childcare, things like that, that offsetting expenses. In essence, food banks became more normalized, especially in a community like ours where we have a beautiful setting to offer. General operating costs, I mean, I know you guys had this, so you've seen this packet. It's pretty astronomical what happened to have a business change like this, just under a year, to have your financial portfolio look like this. It doesn't happen very often in businesses. And in food banking, this isn't the greatest snapshot to have, by the way. In most businesses, this would look really great, but in the food banking business, this was a really hard year. But I think what it allowed us, to do is really set ourselves up for what the future holds. Our distribution also grew, as I told you. The pounds of food monthly were 500,000 pounds. That was up from just 24,000. Between both sites, we experienced an unbelievable difference in how we were distributing food. The growth factors, I just like to, quickly explain what happened here and why we became a regional food bank overnight. And it was simply because the access looks like technology. That's what I tell you. Access is technology. And so being able to leverage some of the platforms that we did created access where there would not have been any. And we discovered people all throughout the pandemic that were trying to seek service and just couldn't really get from A to B. A to B felt like 100 miles for them. So we have a coordinator on call 7 days a week. This is Brianne, who is now our director down in Sumner. She is absolutely amazing, so stop by and see her anytime. We have a self-service online grocery registration, stigma-free van delivery. We had the help of the National Guard, which we cannot thank them enough for what happened. That was critical infrastructure when we had none. We have a text broadcast communication system. To give you an example of what that looks like, during the wildfire, we lost power. We had to close the food bank down, and we were able to send out a text to 1,200 households in 3 different languages in 30 seconds and let them know that the food bank hadn't burned down, what our next steps were going to be, and that we would get back to them in 48 hours once we were all safe. And we gave them an emergency line to call, which we had a Spanish-speaking family that messaged us right away that were displaced with children without clothes or food. And we were able to address that. In fact, Brianne addressed that immediately and met them in a parking lot to take care of it. So there's many more success stories where this comes in, but that communication and our direct line with our customers has changed absolutely everything. We've standardized all of our processes in both food banks, and we created an on-demand drive-through, which that will always be sort of our backup plan. We have processes in place so that if something shifted in September or there was another sort of influenza surge or something happened, we have processes where we will never have to disrupt our systems again. We'll always know what to do. I guess we can be thankful for that. Over the course of the pandemic, we've reached out to the community for help, and we had a capital campaign in the 4th quarter of an election year of a global pandemic. We had no business, but we were desperate. We were in a building that was falling apart. It has now since disappeared. If you guys have driven by it, by the fire station lately in Bonnie Lake, it had black mold. It was not even sitting square on the property. It kind of dipped to the side. We had enough, space that you can see below there to shop in. It wasn't going to work. And we weren't the best neighbors, by the way, up in Bonnie Lake. December 1st, we moved to our food bank in East Pierce, which is the farm that we absolutely love, after an 8-month renovation and capital campaign. It has since, because of community contributions, become a project worth over 650,000 and growing every day. Our future plans there are community garden, which we will also do in Sumner, food forest, teaching and sensory garden, hydroponics, leasing space to farmers, and STEM engagement. I just like to show people a little bit about what we did here. It doesn't look like a food bank, right? The areas we're currently serving: Bonnie Lake, Buckley. You can kind of see the roll call here. Sumner, 190. And these are all households by week, and that was at the height of the pandemic. So this has decreased some, but it gives you kind of an idea. It follows along the same sort of pattern right now. Sumner is rapidly growing. We are rapidly growing right now. 100-day update of what transpired in the first 100 days. We've combined leadership, created a new mission statement, vision, which you've seen. We were able to get $200,000 for each site for WSDA capacity. This was a huge deal for both sites. So we were able to leverage that money, and instead of taking, $100,000 and buying the same things, we took $200,000 and leveraged it as an entire organization to figure out what is it that we need. So we, secured more equipment to work all the 500,000 pounds of food that go out. We have a leasehold now at a warehouse. We were able to start renovations in Sumner, increase refrigerator capacity, and up at the farm, we increased refrigerator capacity too. So we focused on infrastructure on both sites, and I think it's going to pay off in this year to come. We onboarded all of our client data and management software to Sumner and put everything in the cloud immediately. So we started that within the first week that we were there. We have onboarded the client communication and broadcasting system, the joint volunteer management system, our donor management, so that we're able to connect with, all of us. We have the same donors. That's what we figured out. We're more alike than different, and we have the same people that believe in us. So now we're able to go, back to the community and let the entire community know how that we're leveraging this for the whole community. We cleaned and demoed the Sumner facility. We reconfigured the building and started renovating, opened up a newly redesigned market at Sumner with a dignity forward grocery model. We opened up both sites to in-person shopping, hired a human resource consultant to interview our staff and look at our staffing structure. We combined staff with a new leadership structure, hired a new leader at Sumner. Brianna is also Spanish speaking, and she's our tech communication lead. We got a grant-funded warehouse lease, moved 2 warehouses to 1, which was a logistical feat in and of itself, and then to open up both sites to in-person shopping. Everybody was really tired. And we combined our fleet logistics between both sites. So Sumner, we kind of got to work that first week. We started moving some furniture around. I'm kind of known for moving furniture around. And everybody got right on board with me. There's Jay and Bob, who you guys have probably seen at the food bank. Anthony, who we now have hired. So we reconfigured, and this is all of that process design and flow that we were able to do when we reimagined how this site would work. There was a ton of intention put forth in how we were going to use the Sumner site. I feel like this, my prediction, and it's quickly happening, is that our Sumner site will be our largest. It will grow the fastest, and we will serve the most people out of Sumner. It's the most convenient. It's centrally located, and we are gearing up. The whole front of the building will not only be our corporate offices, but we have a computer lab and conference rooms that people can come and visit. So social services, WIC, mental health providers, we're going to host job fairs, vaccine clinics, all of that will happen down at Sumner. And we have our technology and communication lead down there as our new director. So she's going to be facilitating all of these great things that will, help us recover our customers economically and give them that support they need right now. So we're just starting to mud the walls. You guys are going to have to, I'm going to send you all an update too. So I'll send Jason an email with everything once we get everything set and I do a real photo shoot. But right now, everybody's loving it, and we haven't even really started yet. So it's going to be pretty amazing when we get the light fixtures and get the walls painted and get the mural going and all of that. So our current economic recovery partnerships, I just wanted to touch on this. You know, we pivoted really quickly in the pandemic. We kind of were ahead of the trend when we got on that delivery situation 2 months in. I felt in my gut that this is the next step for us for quite a few months. And so we're pivoting everything right now to position ourselves in both sites. We have partnered with the South Puget Sound Intertribal Planning Agency. We're doing some job rehabilitation opportunities. We have partnered with the Sumner Bonnie Lake School District Family Center with Mara Lee to have pop-ups and resource fairs. The Northwest Behavioral Association, we're working with them, the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department, the WSDA, the Tacoma Farmers Market, EVO, which is also job placement, and WorkSource will be hosting job fairs right out of Sumner. I'm really excited for this. We're able to connect immediately with the community through our text broadcasting, let them know what's going on, even schedule them appointments and remind them that we're having job fairs and vaccine clinics and things like that. So that's all happening within this next month. And then I think that will really springboard us into what we're going to be focused on for the next 6 months. Our ongoing partnerships are with the Sumner Bonnie Lake School District Community-Based Transition Program. This is a wonderful group of neurodiverse interns that get real-life job skills training with us and have since gone out to the community and now work in grocery stores because they've got to practice working in a grocery store with us. Building Beyond the Walls, we help partner with their little pantries all over town. You've seen some at the library. There's one right across from the high school. The one right across from the high school, you guys, is a grandma and her grandson. They come in, they get a grocery cart, they have a special bag, they shop for their pantry and what they think their customers are going to like, and then they fill that pantry up every single week. It's absolutely amazing community partnership. We also partner with the Prairie Ridge Community Coalition, Kiwanis and Lions youth programs, the Bonnie Lake High School Culinary Arts Program. I'm going to be working with the Sumner Arts Program for a mural inside our food bank. And then Mom's Microgreens is our resident farmer out on the farm. So 2021 snapshot, I just kind of wanted to show you where we're at right now with expenses and running these food banks compared to where we were in 2020. So you can see our payroll, where we used to have, 2 part-time employees, we now have 7, and that's never enough. That's never enough. We are still very much in an emergency operation. Our utilities, not as bad as you would think when you see how many refrigerators we have fired up. Our leaseholds we have now had to secure in order to keep safe social distance and have our buildings functional with the amount of food that we're pushing out. We have had to procure a leasehold. And then our technology, when we send these texts out, they're very valuable, ways that we can communicate, but unfortunately they are not free. But we continue to work on offsetting those prices or those costs with grants and trying to be as thrifty as possible as we do that, but still get that information out. Grants, we've been able to, there's government assistance. I had mentioned that we had secured $200,000. Last week, we were able to secure a little more to offset our payroll, which is great. Grants right now, what's interesting is everything is very designated. So I could probably buy 100 forklifts, but I can't get a grant to pay my light bills. So that's just the reality of food banking right now. When money comes out, there is money, but it is very specific about how I can use it. And so we've been very careful, and we've definitely been, really strategic. But going into 2021, we are still very much in this crisis operation. I want to continue to be able to be strategic, and that requires general operating funds. And the future, I love to talk about the future in Sumner. I see that we are going to be able to work together and communicate with a heavily impacted population. Come September, I think we're going to hit a whole new level of crisis. So a lot of how, when people say, Stacy, why are you doing a renovation and moving your warehouse and buying all this refrigeration and stuff? I have to strike now and get ready for what's to come, because I can feel it like I did last year around this time. We see ourselves as being information hubs. We're trusted community partners. We're really good at making connections with people. We create spaces where people want to come and connect with us. We want to use that to continue to help our community rebound here. So information stations and resource pop-ups, I am scheduling those. I got off the phone today and scheduled more with White River Outreach. I feel like we can create a united focus on economic recovery from both sites as an entire community as we work together. I think that it is going to take a village. It did to get us this far. This is where I think we can really play with that and help in that partnership. Our connection to the Spanish-speaking residents here, we see more and more people. There are times in both food banks where I will be standing there and the only person that speaks English is me. There are a lot of people coming to us that are trusting us, and I want to be intentional and thoughtful in how we continue to care for them and provide access for other things that they don't know about right now because of that language barrier. I think that we can have collaborative messaging on social media. I think this is a huge opportunity where we can come together and get some messaging out to the community. Oftentimes our social media, we will get views of 10,000 and upwards. There are people very involved in our mission right now and want to help. People want to help us. We have positive and inspiring storytelling that we can convey to the community. The community wants to know that their cities and their partners are coming together to provide this safety net right now. The relationship building with the community partners, we love to be a hub for that. And we can also provide meeting space and team building events at both of our sites. We would love to do that. So, with that said, thank you for giving me the airtime. If you have any questions, I think Jason will pass my email out to everybody and my cell number. Feel free to give me a call or stop by, schedule a visit. I can tell you more.
I just go, wow, and I'll keep my comments short now, but I would ask if the council, any council members would have any questions or any statements. Go ahead, Patrick.
Thank you, Cindy. I just want to, or Stacy, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say thank you so much for all the work that you've been doing. Not only are the outcomes really amazing, but I'm hearing firsthand from some seniors that do curbside pickup for their apartments of how smooth and effective the process is. And they're very thankful for having that resource.
Good. I'm so happy. That's what we're here to do.
Thanks, Patrick. Go ahead, Barb.
Yeah, I am not muted, so I'm just curious.
No, you're not, so go ahead.
That piece of property next to the food bank, is there any plans for that? Because I know that's been in discussion for quite a while.
Yeah, I would really, really, really like to get that shined up. I mean, it's a bigger development, conversation in terms of parking. I think, really the front of our market is that side entry, and the front of the building is now the entry into our, offices. And if people would have appointments, and there's going to be a nice waiting room there. So really the entry to the market is that side. And I know there's going to be a mural on the next building over. So I don't like things to look tacky. So we're going to get that together. And I think a community garden in the back, we're all kind of excited about that. So I know as a board, we're coming together and making bigger plans for, a warehouse building or something that will be there, but we're not quite there yet. So in the interim, we're going to make it look nice. So the community garden for sure, and to get something more formalized with parking there.
Okay, good. Well, I know you've been working hard, so Thanks so much.
That won't go for very much longer. I'm not going to let that be an eyesore.
Thanks, Barb. Go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah, Stacy, I was totally impressed on the tour, and it's incredible what you've done down there. So thank you so much. I look forward to seeing what you can do.
Yeah, we're just getting started. We're going to have a good time.
Yeah, we are. Thank you.
Kathy, go ahead, Charlotte.
Thank you. First, Stacy, I think I will never be able to say thank you enough for bringing dignity back into services. I don't know why any thought had to be put into that, but thank you for doing that. I won't preach about it, but just thank you. My question is, there were a couple times you had referenced like growth in Sumner and that you expected that like some of the, I think, needs there coming out of Sumner even more so than up the hill. And I think I was a little bit surprised by that. I mean, I don't care one way or the other, but just because of the size of their disproportionately, I think, population. And so I was curious if you had any more insight to that. And also if you meant growth just in the number of like customers or clients like serving, or did you also mean like facility growth? And if it is customers, what are the plans? How do you prepare for that?
Well, I think everything that we've been doing for the last 3 months has been to prepare for customer growth. And I think one thing that we saw is that conversation about access. Access is very difficult if you don't speak English or if it's not your first language. And so we identified that really immediately, that there was a large population that wasn't really understanding the resource. So as soon as we were able to get information where we could text them in their language, it felt like immediately we started seeing these customers come to us and shopping. And they were, prior to that, didn't really have an understanding. Like we presume that people have an understanding of how systems work, but systems in social service are not universal. We all have a different way of doing things. And there's components of cultural shame and dignity issues that are all kind of built in there. And so you kind of have to break down existing systems and build them back up. So in that process, we have seen growth, and we've seen more people coming. So growth in numbers served. I am preparing the building to expand to meet those needs. So part of having this leasehold was to open up space so that we weren't storing food in our buildings, that we were serving people in our buildings. And that, it sort of nods to the philosophy of mine, which is the food banks need to be the heart and soul of the service of our community, and everything in that food bank needs to be about serving people. Part of serving people and preserving dignity, which is, just, again, this is a unique philosophy, but I don't really like to have the warehouse aspect and the sort of grunt work that goes along. We all work very, very hard. I like that to be very separate from our actual place of business. I don't like people to come into the food bank and see 20 people working really, really hard to serve them. I want to somehow separate that so that they just get to have a break from the shame of it all. I also think that the format that we have provided now with the in-person shopping, and also that it is very much like a grocery store experience. I see so many children shopping in both of our locations, but like I have walked into Sumner and seen every grocery cart had a child with it. So now we're buying toys for kids so that they have a little prize and creating an experience for them. We're doing classes where it's a food for kids classes where they get to learn how to make healthy snacks. We're catering to our client right now, and they're coming to us, so I do see that will continue to grow. We have the capacity to serve more people also with the processes that we've put in place. So all that analysis that we did was on how can we serve more people more efficiently. And so we're seeing the result of that almost immediately. We did in Bonnie Lake too. We saw it immediately. So we saw a lift of 50% in 2 months. And then we're seeing that lift now too. It's like a 20% hike.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, any other council comments or questions? Okay, Stacy, it's amazing. I'm going to follow up with Charlotte when you talk about the needs within Sumner, is that some of the data that I've gotten through my involvement with United Way, addresses the Alice families, asset limited, income constrained, but employed. They're right on the margin. And we have a higher percentage of Alice families within Sumner than are in adjacent communities. And that's one indicator that you're right. As we move forward, as housing costs increase and stuff, they are right on the edge. And you will see increased demand, for food and for the resource. And so I appreciate that, the vision and the innate, sense that you have of where we're headed. What you've done and with both of those has just been transformative. And when you get to a point of respect and trust from your customers, which you have is indicated by numbers. You wouldn't have those numbers if you didn't have that respect and trust. It's because you're doing things the right way. And so, thank you. Incredible leadership. And as much as I'd like to give Mr. Rader a bad time, it also takes, great leadership from your combined boards. And, they have to be moving lockstep with you. And so great job by all of you. It has truly been a blessing to both communities. So thank you. And we look forward to more great things. How's that? Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be good.
I have no doubt. So anyway, thank you very much. A great way to start the evening. Thank you. Okay. Next, we go from that to the Pierce County Library update.
Mayor, I think you have council member. Never mind. I thought there was a hand, but there wasn't.
Nope, not on my screen. Nope. Okay.
Thank you, my mouse.
But thanks for checking. Yeah, because sometimes I miss them. Pierce County Library update. And again, I'll call on Jason to introduce the topic.
Thank you, Mayor. The next two topics are about the library. And we're going to start with Executive Director Georgia Lomax, who's going to provide an update on what they've been doing to build a new library here in Sumner. And then we'll talk about what the city's role in that is after the library finishes their presentation. So I'll let Georgia also introduce her staff that's with us here tonight.
Great, thank you. I'm Georgia Lomax. I'm Executive Director of the Pierce County Library. And I really appreciate this chance to give you a quick update about a future new Sumner Library. And today I have with me Dean Carroll. Dean is the Foundation Director for the Pierce County Library, and he and the foundation are important leaders and partners in the work that we have been doing and that we have ahead to make this new library a reality. So I am going to do just a quick PowerPoint and let's see. And I will actually start it at the beginning. And it's been a while since we last talked. And so I just want you to know about the progress that we're making and kind of what's coming up next. So a quick refresher. This really started with the library system's facilities master plan process, which was a long, long time ago now. But at that time, we worked with the community and the city and local organizations and talked with them about their needs for library service and how satisfied they were with the buildings and the experience they were having inside of them. And one of the locations that the library system set as a priority was to take care of the Sumner Library facility. we've had a library in Sumner since 1927, and it's been in the current building for over 40 years now. So this is the current library. It's co-owned by the city and by the library, and it sits on land that the city owns. It's a 10,000 square foot building, and it's aging, and it needs substantial repairs and improvements. And as you're well aware, its location has become a bit problematic with the traffic problems at certain times of each day. And of course, it's off on the edge of town now. It's not really in the center of things anymore. So with that in mind, the city and the library have both wanted to explore a possible new building for quite a while. In fact, one of my first phone calls when I became the library director was from your former city manager. And he said, hey, about the library that's on city land, why don't we have a talk about this? And that kind of got the ball rolling for us. So while both the city and the library had an interest in a potential new library, we wanted to make sure that that's what the community thought as well. So in 2019, the library checked in with the public and we asked them what they thought about a new library. Are they happy with what they have right now? And we had a really good response, a lot of input. About 1,000 people answered our online and in-person surveys, and another 500 talked with us at community events like Rhubarb Days and Music Off Main. And we also got input at meetings with local organizations like the Rotary Club, and just spoke with community leaders. So what we heard was that they were interested in the possibility of a new library, and they also shared a lot of thoughts and advice about a new building. 88% of survey takers said they were interested. And with the people we talked with in person, we asked them, does Sumner need a new library? And 90% of those people answered yes, that we did. So in 2018, the city had bought property on Main Street right across from Fred Meyer to hold for a possible new library. And so we also asked people, what did they think about that location? And 92% said that they would use a library in the new location more or the same as the current location. And 60%, almost 60% of people said they would use the new location more. So in December of 2019, the library, you would think I would be able to do a PowerPoint on Zoom by this time after a year and a half, but apparently I'm still having trouble. So anyway, in December of 2019, the library board looked at what we had learned from Sumner residents about their interest. And they also looked at the results of a fundraising feasibility study that we did. And they said, it's time for us to move ahead. And they asked us to begin a planning phase for a new building. We had a bit of a pause in the project when we hit the pandemic. And because of that, as we've restarted, we've made a few adjustments to our original plans. One of them is, just like Stacy said, we think that there will be differences between the library of the future and the library as it was back pre-COVID. And we need to understand what that is. And we need the public to help tell us what they'd like to be different about the services and how they're delivered, as well as the experience they have in our buildings. So one of the fun pieces of this project will be learning what that might be and trying it out here in Sumner and setting the template for our work as we go elsewhere in the library system. We also ruled out taking a bond proposal to the voters as one of the funding sources. It didn't make sense or even seem realistic considering the economic impacts that the pandemic has had on our residents and on our businesses. So we'll be talking with the public, of course, as we get started on this, but there are a few things that we're pretty sure about as we get ready to design a new building. Our community is always changing, so the library needs to change too, and this new building needs to last a long time, and it still needs to be flexible enough to respond to whatever the future asks of it over whatever that long time is. We know this building needs to be bigger. In fact, the library system could really use a regional anchor for library services to serve the eastern part of the county, and we'd like Sumner to be that anchor. The current building is just over 10,000 square feet, and we're looking at 18 to 20,000 square feet for a new one. Yes, don't worry. There needs to be a great collection of books for people to enjoy in the new building. There will be information and resources to help people learn and grow, technology, services to support people in reaching their goals. And it needs to be a space where the community can come together in a building that's comfortable and beautiful and that they're really proud of, and that's a center of the community. We also want to try something that we're just calling community service space for now. And this is something, this is a dedicated place where nonprofit and government agencies could bring services that we need in Sumner and East Pierce County. They could bring them out here to us for better access rather than our residents having to go to Tacoma or wherever the service is located. So most of this project is the new Sumner Library, but the library system does serve more than 600,000 people across our 1,800 square miles. So we're always looking at making progress for everyone, even though we have to take these big projects one step at a time. So we're also including an innovation fund in the budget for this project. And we hope to do a couple of pilot projects to see different ways that we can bring library services to areas that don't have traditional library buildings at this time. And like I said, we decided that a bond was not a good idea or even a likely approach. Excuse me. So fundraising is going to be an important part of funding the new library. And most of the library's annual property tax levy is used for the system's services and operations. But after the recent levy was approved by voters, the Board of Trustees now are dedicating some of the operations money each year to help us make progress on our facilities master plan. And this includes some money for refreshing and modernizing buildings, like what we're doing up at Bonnie Lake this year, and then also contributions towards these larger projects like a new Sumner Library. So the library's foundation, under Dean's leadership, is leading our fundraising efforts with the help of a campaign committee that includes local and county leaders. So huge thanks to Bill and Barb for volunteering in your copious spare time to serve on this campaign committee and give us advice and guidance as we move forward. So far, we've been talking with people who are closest to the project about their support, and we've had some great success already in our fundraising. And we're just getting ready to begin work on major gifts for the project. So we'll be talking with key community and family foundations, early Sumner supporters, we hope, and other leadership type gift prospects. So there's a lot of work that's been done to get us to today, and we're ready for the project to become more visible and really start to roll. We have a lot of fundraising to do, but we're really confident in that, and things are going well there. We'll begin talking with residents about their ideas about the building and begin preliminary design soon. And of course, owning a piece of property to put the library on will be a really big step. And Jason will talk with you about the city's thoughts on our discussions that we've been having about that. But the library is really excited to be at this point, and we appreciate the city's interest and partnership through this process. So thank you for this chance to update you. And I'd be happy to answer your questions or hear any thoughts you have about a new Sumner library. So thank you very much for this opportunity. And
Thanks, Georgia. Council members, questions or comments for Georgia in terms of the library? Go ahead, Barb. You're not quite there yet, Barb.
This is a bad night.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Now you're coming through. You got it.
Yeah. So when is the Sumner Library going to reopen?
oh, so we are getting the technology is being installed this week. So I can't officially say, but I think there should be an announcement quite soon. And I hope that I will be able to pick up my books next week.
Oh, okay. That'd be good.
Yeah.
So, but I've been enjoying being on the committee, to fund this, and, really excited about all the prospects. So I'm looking forward to some big announcements soon.
Thanks, Barb. I think, Cindy, I saw you next. You were making some kind of gesture at me, I think, with your hand. So go ahead.
It was a kindly gesture, don't worry.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So Georgia, I really appreciate your great report. I'm just thrilled with the progress and how far you've gotten as far as moving this whole project forward. And thank you for being so in touch with our community and listening and talking to members of our community and the leaders. So good luck moving forward, and let me know if there's anything I can ever do to help you.
Oh, we will.
Yeah, we'll take you up on that, council member. And I have to say, we serve so many communities around Pierce County, and it's really great to launch our facilities master plan process in Sumner. It's a great community with a lot of interest in the library and really willing to talk about their hopes and dreams. And every time I'm in the grocery store, I have somebody asking me when the new library is going to open even. So I think there's a lot of enthusiasm, and so it's a fun project. And yeah.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Kathy.
It's 2 for 2. Food bank, library. All I can say is yeehaw, let's go. That's it.
Yeah, we're looking forward to having our facility sort of more central. We'll be close to the food bank. We'll be near where people shop. We'll be close to the senior center, close to the high school, way more walkable. Being in the heart of downtown is a great thing for a library, and It'll be really fun.
Gonna be great.
Okay, any other council members, comments, questions? I'd just like to thank both Georgia and Dean. You know, Barbara and I have been spending an increasing amount of time with them, and I see that Mr. Kosa is attending the meeting, and you know, it's different dealing with librarians than it is engineers. And don't take it personally, Michael, but you know, there's this thing called a sense of humor, and they're just different mindset and stuff. So it's been a joy, you know, even though they can be demanding at times, you know. Anyway, let's see. Patrick, did you? Who else? I thought somebody had their hand raised, or they may have taken it down.
Deputy Mayor Hayden had her hand up, and then
Did you mean to have it up, Kathy, or did you you wanted to? Okay, guess not.
I think we
Okay.
lost. Oh, no, never mind.
No, she's there. She's just she's muted and she's video muted. So okay. Well, Georgia and Dean, again, thank you. Thank you very much, and look forward to some future great updates. And now we'll go on to the next item, which involves some property. Mr. Wilson.
thank you, Mayor. Let's get my screen going here. Okay, well, I'm here to pick up where Georgia left off and talk to you about somehow, I apologize, you probably see my Zoom screen too, don't you?
No, you're coming through now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'm here to pick up where Georgia left off and talk to you about the property and next steps for it. So as Georgia mentioned, you know, the current library is at the Friar Avenue location. The building was built in 1979, and it originally housed the library on one side and the senior center on the other side. That's why the building is owned 50-50 between the city and the district, with the land underneath being owned 100% by the city. The senior center moved to their new location in the early 90s, and at that time, the library took over the entire building and signed a 50-year lease for a very nominal $1 a year. They paid all up front back there in 1992. As Georgia mentioned, the building is in need of significant repairs. It's not really suited for the current library needs. I will point out this area is in our town center and is experiencing some interest in redevelopment. And that's important because it's not suitable to probably keep a library in this position or in this location long term for all the reasons Georgia mentioned. Plus, it's in our town center plan. Back in 2018, we did buy some property. And at the same time we bought that property, we did an appraisal of the building. And just the building, not the underlying land, was valued at $1.25 million. The property that we purchased, known as the Main Street property, consists of 3 parcels in the 15200 block of Main Street. So this is right across from like the Domino's Pizza and right next to the Boyles Funeral Home. It's 1.69 acres. We purchased it in May of 2018 for $1,075,000 with the goal of relocating the library there someday. To date, the city's put an additional $275,000 into the property. That include demolishing several structures. And of course, once we started demolishing, we found out that there was some contamination on the property. So we've done some monitoring, some design work, and some partial cleanup of the contamination. Also done some storm maintenance, and outstanding though, we still have about $200,000 in additional cleanup costs. What staff is proposing is an intergovernmental transfer to the library. And how that would work is the city would surplus the Main Street property, and then the library system would purchase it and deed 50% of the interest of the Friar Avenue building. So essentially, the city would own the full building plus the land. In turn, the library would assume future cleanup costs of the Main Street property, and then we'd enter into a revised lease agreement with the library for the Friar Avenue property with a yearly term until they were able to build and relocate. So to summarize, once again, the city has a little over $1.35 million invested into the Main Street properties. 50% of the value of the Friar Avenue building is $625,000. So that brings the revised value of the Main Street properties down to $725,000. And then the city feels it's in the best interest to give credit for the cleanup costs at about $200,000, being the final sale price for the library would be $525,914. That'd be the purchase price rather of the Main Street properties. If council's amenable to this process, the next step would be a public hearing on August 16th, followed by some action on the 7th of September that would surplus the Main Street properties. It would approve the purchase and sale agreement or the intergovernmental transfer of the Main Street properties to the library district. It would also, council would be asked to approve of accepting 50% interest in the Friar Avenue building and approving a revised lease agreement for the Friar Avenue building. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions that council members have for Mr. Wilson? Go ahead, Cindy.
Mr. Wilson, I think there's part of this I don't understand, and that is you're evaluating the building value and the property of the old library. And then tell me what you're doing from there then. Sure.
So the city has invested $1.35 million in the Main Street property. Okay, so that includes the purchase, some demolition of the buildings and some initial cleanup. The Friar Avenue building is valued at $1.25 million. So the city's interest of that is $625,000, and the library's interest in that building is $625,000. So what we're doing is we're discounting the Main Street property by that dollar amount. And in exchange, the city then gets 100% of the Friar Avenue building. And we already own the underlying property. And then the library will be purchasing the Main Street properties from the city at a cost of $525,000, which includes a $200,000 credit for the cleanup.
Okay, but the Friar Avenue building, it's really worth, I mean, I can see it having a value with the land, but the building itself is valued at that amount of money?
It is, and we did get the appraisal about 3 years ago, but we did that intentionally so we could have, same time purchase of the Main Street property with the same time appraisal of the building alone. So if you read the appraisal report, they say the building's in okay condition, but does have some significant maintenance needs for it.
Okay, so.
What it effectively does though, Jason, isn't it at the end of this process, it clears title to the property that is off of Friar. In other words, it is city property, once the library moves on to the new site. And so that enables us to move forward without it being encumbered by being half owned by the library, for future development. And then it also, this particular exchange would then allow the library then to move forward without it, being encumbered by city ownership. So that's where it works both ways to our advantage with future development on Friar and to the library for future development, by owning the parcels themselves.
Correct.
Okay, it helps some, but it's just hard for me to believe that flat top building has that kind of value. I understand that I think that we have a valuable piece of property there, but I'm just wondering, I mean, you guys are the ones with the figures. It's just hard for me to understand that half of that building is worth that much, so.
Well, yeah, my only comment would be, have you looked at the real estate lately in terms of appraisals on things that, I hear you. You look at it and you go, is it really worth that much? But that's what the appraisal was then. And yes, there's been some, some deterioration, but also the price of property has gone up and the price of buildings has gone up too. So yeah, I don't think it's gone down at all.
So we would most likely be selling that property and the building, or demolishing the building and selling the property. I mean, that the city doesn't like to stay in the real estate business. It likes to turn things over. So is the plan to demolish the building?
That would definitely be up to a future council, but that would be staff's recommendation would be to put it on the market shortly after the library leaves. Whether we demolish the building or a private developer does, is said, we'll see.
Okay, well, thank you for trying to help me understand this.
Yeah, thanks, Cindy. Good questions. Go ahead, Patrick.
So, and just to follow up on Cindy's comments, so it's kind of like what happened with the Red Apple property. We acquired the property and then prepared it for marketing it to develop or selling it for development. And part of that included demoing the building and getting things prepped and ready to go as it continued to progress along.
Correct.
Okay. Barb.
Is there anybody showing interest in that property now? I know there's going to be the 6-story apartment or, development next to it. Has anybody expressed any interest in the property?
Over the years, we have gotten calls that people are interested, because remember, we own the property also to the south of the existing library. We demoed that deteriorating building about 5 years ago. So yeah, there has been some interest. It's been a number of years now. I imagine though, as the residential building goes up to the north, it'll make this property even that much more interesting to potential developers.
Right, and then the proximity to the train station too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that you have the library on there right now makes it a little bit of a constraint. So, when that becomes certain that it's moving and stuff, I think your interest will certainly go up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions or comments by council members? Mr. Wilson, when can we expect to see this before the council?
So because we haven't heard any opposition, we will schedule this for a public hearing on August 16th with final action September 7th.
Okay. Cool. Progress. That'll be cool. Okay. George, I'm trying to look. Oh, there you are. Trying to find you on the screen. George and Dean, hey, thank you very much. For joining us tonight, and you're welcome to stay on and hear about the pandemic response update, or you can go on and do other things. Leave that up to you. Oh, I see. Yeah, it was. Yeah, good decision. Anyway, thank you again, both of you, and I'm sure I'll see you in the future.
Great. Thank you all so much for your support and interest in a new library. And we look forward to speaking quite a bit in the future as we really get going on this. So I'll see you in August. Bye.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, we go on to item number 4, pandemic response update. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. Get my show going here. Okay, can you see my presentation?
Yep.
Okay. Sometimes with 2 screens, it gets a little confusing. All right, I wanted to give you all an update today on where we are on our pandemic response. As you know, the state has reopened the economy as of June 30th. Most of the occupancy restrictions and business guidelines have been rescinded. However, there are a number of proclamations and orders that do remain, and we're going to talk about 4 of those today because they apply to the city. The first was the Department of Health order regarding face coverings, the L&I rules for preventing COVID-19, a proclamation regarding ratepayer assistance and preservation of essential services, as well as a proclamation related to the Open Public Meetings Act and Public Records Act. Start with the Department of Health order regarding face coverings. This is an order that has been amended numerous times over the last 18 months, and most recently at the end of June. And this states that masks are required for unvaccinated individuals while indoors and encouraged for large crowds, regardless of being indoor or outdoor. Masks are also required for all individuals when in healthcare settings, correctional facilities, homeless shelters, K through 12 schools, childcare facilities, and the like, as well as public transportation, buses, airplanes, and trains. For outdoors, people who are not fully vaccinated against COVID-19 are encouraged to wear face coverings in crowded outdoor settings, such as sporting events, fairs, parades, concerts, and similar settings where there is decreased ability to consistently maintain physical distance between non-household members. There's also the L&I rule that we've implemented with our staff. It does require that we verify vaccination status before allowing employees to not wear a mask indoors. This is not an option. This is a requirement of L&I, and we have to be able to prove it. There's a few different ways in the L&I rule that we can do that. And the city has chosen to implement providing physical proof. So a picture of a vaccination card or a copy of a vaccination card is required. We've been advised by MRSC, who's been in contact with L&I, to treat our elected officials and commissioners and volunteers as employees under this order. So I know I sent an email out to you all a few weeks ago asking that you provide copies of your vaccination records in preparation for returning to in-person meetings, as well as just you accessing City Hall for city business. So if you haven't done so, please get those to me or Adrian McNeely in HR. And I'll pause so.
Yeah. Go ahead, Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I apologize in advance, sort of, but this is something you guys are going to hear from me on a regular basis because I have some issues with part of this policy, not on the city standpoint, but the fact that naturally recovered individuals that have already built a strong immunity, in most cases stronger than the vaccine, are not considered in these policies. I happen to be one of those, which is going to compel me to have to wear a mask, even though I have a higher immunity rate than the majority of those that have been vaccinated. And you're going to hear that from me probably at every meeting.
Okay, thank you, Patrick.
Thank you,
Okay,
Mr.
go ahead,
Reed.
Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. The L&I rule does require that we ensure unvaccinated employees wear a mask while working indoors, as well as keeping employees with possible or confirmed cases of COVID-19 from working around others. One change in the most recent L&I rules, they moved a requirement to more of an advisory, and that's the protection of unvaccinated employees by continuing distancing between unvaccinated employees with each other and the public. As a practice, the city will continue to maintain distancing for those that are unvaccinated as a way to protect those unvaccinated employees from potentially contracting the virus. Before I get into the other rules, I'm going to talk a little bit about City Hall reopening. Throughout the pandemic, especially towards the earlier part of this year and into the spring, we started surveying our employees about what are their obstacles, what are their concerns about returning to City Hall. And what we heard is returning to City Hall full-time in July would be difficult. There's a lot of unknowns with childcare. A number of our employees who've had regular childcare for years have struggled finding adequate childcare that meets the timing that they need or the space limitations that some of these childcare facilities have. Not necessarily in July, but they're concerned about what's the uncertainty with school impacts in September. And we're happy to hear now that it looks like everybody will be returning to in-person learning in September. But obviously, when we were preparing these plans, all of that wasn't out yet. Concern over the L&I rules of vaccine availability and acceptance. Once again, the vaccine is widely available. We know the L&I rules, so they're a little bit more comfortable with that now. A number of employees were concerned with returning into a mixed vaccination environment, especially those of our employees that are at higher risk and you know, have underlying health conditions. They were very concerned about that. They still are today. Number of employees still concerned with variants. And then I think this one can't be overemphasized enough. Concerns with children at home who are too young to be vaccinated. So, you know, being exposed to the virus here at work, possibly taking it home. And there's a lot of studies on whether or not that can or can't happen, but that's definitely a concern of our employees. So we developed a City Hall reopening plan that was conservative and provided certainty for our employees through the summer months, knowing that a lot of childcare is tied to the school system. We felt that it was important to give our employees some certainty through those summer months for planning purposes. And a lot of our neighboring cities have developed similar plans. So before I go into this, I want to just point out the mayor determines when and how City Hall reopens, not the state of Washington. So it really is up to the mayor at what point we move through these phases. I'm happy to say that the dates listed in this presentation are still going forward, and we have no concerns with them at this time. But if something was to change, if some virus activity or community activity started, obviously all of this would be reconsidered for the safety of our employees. Currently, all City and Hall employees are working an alternate work schedule, a 980 or a 9-4. If you're not familiar with alternate work schedules, a 980 schedule is a schedule that employees work 1 week they work 4 9s and an 8, and the other week they work 4 9s. Pre-pandemic, almost 60% of our employees were on this schedule already. So majority of City Hall. As part of this reopening plan, we added a 9-4 schedule, which is 4 9s and a 4. So Monday through Thursday are 9-hour days, and Fridays are 4-hour days. Because most of our employees were already on a flex schedule, we felt it was a good opportunity to try out putting everybody onto an alternate work schedule with some limitations. Certain customer-facing positions will be required to work a 9-4 schedule, and those that have been working on a 980, we consolidated them so all of City Hall employees that are on a 980 schedule have the exact same Fridays off, which then allows for coordinated trainings, coordinated department meetings, all to be done Friday mornings, which then frees up normal in-person business hours that aren't going to be taken up by those type of activities. For positions eligible or non-field positions, Friday will typically be a work from home day. Just going back a little bit, as a reminder, we've been operating in a Teams environment for the majority of the pandemic, and this is to prevent the spread of the virus from one team to the other, trying to limit exposure of our staff. So up April through June 25th, we had limited staffing at City Hall. We were definitely helping customers largely remotely, but also by appointment. And then on June 28th, we moved into phase 3 of our reopening, which will be through the month of July. Staffing at City Hall is increased to a maximum of 50% based on teams, using our phase 2 staffing as the floor. Customer access, we are now open to the public Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. with remote services available 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. This is an expansion of hours. What we found pre-pandemic is we had a number of customers that either need to visit the permit counter or the utility counter either before or after 8 a.m. or after 5 p.m. Some of those were commuters, some of those were just residents that couldn't make it during the normal hours. So this is an effort to try to be more accessible to more people. And then Fridays have always been a very light day at City Hall, both staffing and customer access. So we're going to continue to provide remote services on Fridays from 7:30 until noon. Phase 4 starts August 2nd, and it lasts the whole month of August. Staffing will be at 50% based on teams, and staff will be required to work at City Hall 2 days a week. Customer access, City Hall will now be physically open Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 5:30, with remote services still available on Fridays from 7:30 until noon. And then phase 5, September 7th through December 31st. Just as reference, September 7th is the Tuesday after Labor Day. That's why it's kind of that odd day. The staffing will increase. There'll be no more teams. Expansion of telework for eligible positions. So staff will be required to work a minimum of 2 days in City Hall, and those positions that are eligible, which is the majority of non-customer facing positions, will be allowed to work up to 3 days a week from home. And the pilot project for customer access, which is the expanded City Hall hours Monday through Thursday and the shorter hours on Fridays, will continue through the end of the year as we evaluate how well that's working. I could take a moment if anybody has any questions about what I just covered. Now's probably the best time for that.
Questions, council members for Jason? Don't see any hands being raised. Jason, go ahead.
All right, the next proclamation I'm going to discuss is 20-23. This is the Ratepayer Assistance and Preservation of Essential Services. This completely deals with utility rate assistance and utility rate utility service shutoffs. So it does prohibit the disconnection of any residential customer from energy, including water or sewer, due to non-payment. It also prohibits us from charging late fees or reconnection fees for those services. And it prohibits us from disconnecting customers for non-payment or refusing to reconnect somebody that hasn't paid in the past. And we are to continue to encourage people to seek rate assistance through various federal and local funds. And we've been doing that pretty much nonstop since this started. We do have a number of accounts that are still in arrears, about 250 different accounts, totaling about $400,000 in water service alone. And that's something that we're continuing to work through. You may have heard the governor did extend this proclamation through the end of September. Even once that ends, that just starts the process then for working with our customers to get them onto payment plans before we'd even start this connection. So more to come on this as we learn more about what other federal funds are available to get our customers access. Like I mentioned, it does encourage us to continue to make good faith efforts to reach our customers, adopt payment plans, waive fees, and they encourage us to refrain from reporting clients to collection agencies, which we are not doing at this time. But that's not our practice anymore. Anyway, we have other ways to handle overdue accounts. Moving on to the next proclamation regarding OPMA and Public Records Act. It's interesting. There was a bill that was at the legislature this year that required, it was to amend the Open Public Meetings Act to require hybrid meetings. And it died in committee, but this proclamation essentially enacts all of the key points that were in that legislation. And we don't see that this is going to expire anytime soon. The governor has indicated that this will be the rule through the emergency declaration. So unless the emergency declaration gets rescinded, this will be in place. So to summarize, in-person public meetings are allowed, but not required. However, if we meet in person, there's no restrictions on capacity, no physical distancing requirements, and we're required to follow the Department of Health order on face coverings. So we're not required to verify vaccination status of public attendees. Only staff and elected officials do we have to do that. But we are required to put up signs saying that if you're not vaccinated or if you're partially vaccinated, that you must wear a mask. And then we're also required to provide remote attendance options. So if we meet in person, there has to be a hybrid component, at a minimum, a phone that people can actively participate in real time. As you know, we've been working through the council chamber remodel and upgrade to allow for robust hybrid meetings. I'm happy to say we are ahead of many of our neighboring cities when it comes to technology, but we are still getting it installed. Most of the components have been in place now, but we are waiting on a few more pieces of technology that are on back order. And then we need to work as a staff to make sure that we understand exactly how to use it. And then we need to train you all how to use it. I will say, we had some initial training last week. It's not that hard. It's pretty easy. So it's one button. And I think you guys will be very happy with it. It does allow for queuing. If you've been here for a while, you know that we used to have buttons that you push and they would light up for the mayor so he knew who wanted to speak. It's all back. And it's actually really cool and it works well. But we need to work out a few things before we come back. With that, I wanted to let you know how the seating arrangements will be on the new dais. And this was taken from how you sat, just kind of a mirror image as it was before. So if you're looking at this, if you haven't been into the council chambers, we should have put an arrow on here, but north is on the right side of the screen on Mr. Reed's side. And then that would put the red apple behind you if you're sitting at the dais. So those are the seats. What staff is proposing is that we begin in-person council meetings on September 7th. We were hoping to do this earlier in August, but based on some of the technology that's back ordered, as well as making sure that we get it right, we're asking that we wait 2 more meetings so we can iron out all of the wrinkles with it. We would start with hybrid meetings for regular council meetings. And then I'd like to get your input on what you want to do for study sessions and committee meetings. Some cities have chosen to keep those full remote. Some have chosen to go hybrid. And some have just, some have done a combination of both, depending on the type of meeting.
Are you looking for that input now, Mr. Wilson?
Yep, that's actually my last slide, so it's a perfect opportunity.
Well, there you go. Okay, I was actually pushing for a start of the council meetings, in person for January of next year. But just kidding, folks. Come on. But anyway, I was happy to see that we can get back together because I'm tired of doing this virtual thing. But thoughts from the council in terms of your desire for either comments on the council meetings or desire for study sessions or committee meetings. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I'm all for getting back together and doing hybrid at least.
Okay, thank you, sir. Go ahead, Kathy, and then Patrick.
I prefer in-person meetings.
There's 2 weighing in. Go ahead, Patrick.
I would also look forward to getting back to the meetings, although I have to wear a mask, but still, I'm looking forward to the in-person part. I'm not going to put the city at jeopardy with LNI.
Okay, thanks, Patrick. We won't know who you are. Go ahead, Charlotte, and then Barb.
So I think sometimes I personally, or maybe we can benefit from having it in person. Like sometimes like the discussion is better. I don't know. Like I feel like I get some value out of that, but I don't know that I necessarily feel the need to take away the option of doing it online from other council members, and or just the flexibility of, say if someone has an out of town work trip, or if you just have to do it from afar, like it's just the drive, like the commute or something that would keep you from being there. But if you could do it online, you could. So like, while I personally want to be online, I'm not sure that I feel so strongly about it that I want to take away the option from someone else, or who knows, someday myself.
Right. And I don't think we necessarily are. I think unless Jason, you correct me on this thing, when we talked before, is that we were talking about this giving us actually greater flexibility, both from a council perspective, also from a public standpoint, in that you're providing greater access to the meetings. So I don't know, Jason, am I on point or not on that one?
You're absolutely on point, Mayor. The floor is now a hybrid meeting. From going forward, all committee meetings, all study sessions, all public meetings have to have a hybrid component. So that is a change, which because that ability exists, it then falls back down to your council rules and procedures, which allow you to attend meetings remotely.
Okay, so I see, it's a hybrid or full remote, not just like fully, okay, all right, then I'm,
Yeah. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because some cities have said, we're going to take our regular council meetings and meet, hybridly in person, right? And then they've made the decision that committee meetings and or study sessions, we're only going to do remote.
I mean, the convenience is attractive, but I'm 2 blocks away, so, 6 of one, half dozen the other.
Sure.
Hey, Sumner's not that big a place. Nobody's that far away. Unless, Charlotte, like you said, somebody's on vacation or they, circumstance or such that they want to attend virtually, and it gives them that option. I think it's an incredible approach, and again allows for greater access and opportunity by both the council and the public. So yeah, okay. Any other council members want to weigh in? Barbara,
I was going to weigh in. Yeah, I like the idea of still having the hybrid because like in August, we'll be gone for one of the committee meetings. And, I like being able to attend the meeting hybridly, and still be in touch with what's going on. So I think that's a good option.
yeah. And what you're saying, Mr. Wilson, is that we have the capability to do all of that on a hybrid.
You have to.
Well, I'm just saying in terms of the rooms, though, and the capability of being able to do it not only in the council chambers, but also in the other whatever room that's called down there.
First floor conference room is getting technology installed that will allow for video broadcast and real-time communication.
Okay. I think you got your answers, Jason. Oh, go ahead, Kurt.
Yeah, I'll do whatever. I'm easy.
Okay, that's fair. That sounds to me like, go ahead, Cindy.
Yeah, I understand that it'll be hybrid, but I would like study sessions to not just be remote, that we would have in-person discussions, because that seems to be very helpful to work towards more of a consensus and hear different views. So yeah, this is going to be interesting starting this up again. So thank you for all your thinking this spider's nest through all the way.
I'm hearing, Jason, is that, yeah, we're going to go back to the business the way it was, with the exception is that we're going to also allow for virtual access to committee meetings, to study sessions, and to council meetings. And I would also like to commend staff for being foresightful here and ahead of the game in terms of being able to provide this technology in a very timely manner, because a lot of agencies, they're not there. And staff has done a tremendous job, not only with the remodel, but also being forward-looking in terms of how to, like I said, improve access. So nice work. Excellent. Okay, is that it, Mr. Wilson?
I just want to make sure that there's no specific feedback on the pilot project for the city hall hours that we've been operating under.
I don't see any hands raised. I don't see any comments. I see thumbs up. I see smiles. Hey, it's all good. Anyway, again,
Thank you.
nice work. Excellent work. Okay. Well, if you haven't talked enough, now's the city administrator report. Mr. Wilson.
I've certainly talked enough tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. In terms of agenda setting, calendar issues, either council meetings and or council committees. Any questions, any issues anybody has? Anybody's going to be gone? We're not yet attending virtually, so you're just going to be gone and you have to have somebody else there, or nothing, no conflicts. It's all good. Cool. Well, you had a lot thrown at you today or tonight. And I think all of it actually really positive. Even the last topic is to me, it was very positive because we're moving forward and with some sense of a little more normalcy here, which is really, appreciated. And we'll learn as we go along. I was talking to Jason about the council meetings and the technology, and yeah, we're all going to have to practice at it. We're going to screw up, but we'll continue to get it under our belts. And so I think it'll be a good thing. Okay, we do not have an executive session tonight. So that being the case, and there is no more business before the city council, the study is adjourned at 7:41. Have a nice evening, everyone, and thank you for spending some great time